inmate. Sheriff Benny Napoleon at the podium now. Let's take you to that press conference.
Announced the passing of one of our own overnight. As it happened about 10 o'clock p.m., Corporal Bryant Searcy was in the process of locking down inmates on the 4th floor of Division 2 jail, which is the old jail downtown. During the course of that lockdown, he was viciously assaulted by one of the inmates. There was a struggle. At the end of the struggle, he lost, we believe he lost consciousness. He was ultimately conveyed to Detroit Receiving Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. It is a very sad day. He was a veteran of 18 years. He came on the job in 2002. He has a surviving wife and college-age daughter. We had the opportunity to speak with his wife last night. County Executive Evans joined us at the hospital on behalf of the county and offered his condolences to the family. There is a criminal investigation ongoing being conducted by the Detroit Police Department, and I would like to thank them for their speedy response. Chief Craig has called and offered complete support to the agency. I've also received many calls, including Sheriff Wickersham from Macomb County, Colonel Gasper from the State Police, and the prosecutor, Kim Worthy. So with that, I will answer questions after the CEO speaks.
Thank you very much. I'd like to kind of just reiterate what the sheriff said. When you lose an officer in the line of duty, whether it's in a jail facility or somewhere else, it tugs at you, hits you hard, because you know it could have been any of us, certainly any of them. Bryant Searcy was a corporal. He had been around since '02. He served through my administration as sheriff and on into Sheriff Napoleon's administration. Always had a good record, a lot of friends. The county is making sure that grief counselors are available because of that. Other officers certainly internalize when these kinds of things happen because they know, but by the grace of God, it could have been them. And so grief counselors will be available, and the county will work with the family as closely as we can to make sure whatever benefits are available quickly, and we can help them the best way we can. I got a chance to meet his wife last night. It wasn't ideal circumstances, but a very strong lady. As the sheriff said, he has a 21-year-old college-age daughter, just turned 21 last week. It's got to be devastating to the family, but everybody behind me appreciates the work that he did and understands the sacrifice that he made. Thank God it doesn't happen more often, but it doesn't make it any less devastating when it does happen. So our prayers are with the family, obviously, and anything that the county, either the sheriff or the county executive's office can do, we're happy to do it. Sheriff? Thank you. Questions?
Obviously, you know, the Dickerson facility is named after an officer who was killed in the line of duty many, many years ago. And I believe the person who's responsible for his death is still in prison and is just turning 51 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So it has happened in the jail before. It's obviously, the jail is a dangerous place. I tell people all the time that we house some of the most dangerous criminals in America in Wayne County Jail. And the officers understand the environment that they're working in. They understand the level of prisoners that they're dealing with. And yet they go to work every single day and do a very, very tough job under some very tough circumstances. Yes.
The attack itself, was it just fists or were there any weapons involved?
The investigation is being conducted, as I said, by the Detroit Police Department. At this point in time, any questions related to the actual investigation of this should probably be sent or directed to the Detroit Police Department's Homicide section. But it's their investigation, so they're in charge. Anytime there's a death in the jail, Detroit Police Department is responsible for doing the investigation. Okay, go this way. Yes, sir.
Could you share your feelings about Corporal Searcy and the relationship he had with his peers and his contributions and the type of person he was?
One of the things that unfortunately happens when we have these kinds of situations, and I say unfortunately only because it happens because of a tragedy, but I know when I arrived at the hospital, I'm certain when the county exec arrived at the hospital, you could just see the outpouring of support for his family. Deputies who were off duty and not required were coming to the hospital constantly. He is very well loved by his co-workers and respected by his supervisors. And it's a big loss to this agency. The thing that I heard consistently from the people that I talked to is that he was a consummate professional, very much a person who recognized that he was in charge of the care of inmates, and even though they had done something wrong, he was very professional in his interaction with them. Yes.
Sheriff, you have such a beautiful family. What was your message to life and love?
Unfortunately, over my almost now 46-year career, I've had to do this too many times, and I struggle with the message that always, as I know I'm going to meet someone under these circumstances, I struggle with what do you say to someone under these circumstances, and I've had to do it way too many times. And I think what the CEO said and what I also conveyed is know that you are a part of this very large supportive family, and that we're going to be here for you in a way that any way that we can, and know that you will always be a part of this family. And if any time in the future that they need something, we stand here prepared to help them. The undersheriff, Finance, is in the process immediately on working on the benefits that the family is entitled to, and we started that the first thing this morning. It's something that we're very serious about, knowing that we're trying to make this as comforting as we can.
Sheriff, what would you tell us? You said the jail is a dangerous place. What can you tell us about this inmate, his age, what was he in for? Were there any indications that he was this serious of a threat?
Let me make it really clear. During the course of this pandemic, we have reduced the population of the jail because of the pandemic to about 850 people. That may not be preferable, but I think it's necessary at this time. The only people who remain in the custody of the Wayne County Jail at this point are people that we know are very dangerous. They're too dangerous to be put on the streets of this community, which is why they're in the institution during this pandemic. Every inmate, that 850 plus, are among the most dangerous people in America. We know that. He has a long history. He's 28 years old. This is not his first time being involved in serious crime, but God willing, it'll be the last time.
What do you think happened? What went wrong?
You know, during the course of this investigation, we have two investigations going concurrently. One is the criminal investigation that the Detroit Police Department is doing, and one is the internal investigation that is being headed up by the undersheriff. Well, we will look at policy, we will look at procedures, and we'll look to see if there's anything that could have been done differently that could have impacted these tragic results. So we have a concurrent, one criminal and one policy focused.
you say whether or not the cameras in the jail were working? Because we got a call from someone who said that they were a deputy working in the jail, and most often these cameras are not working.
Well, we have sufficient footage to ascertain very clearly what happened. So the fact that someone said the cameras were not working is not true. The cameras were working. We've had them reviewed. We've turned that information over to the Detroit Police Department to assist them in their criminal investigation. We also have it for our policy investigation. Yes,
Do you know
ma'am.
if there were any other officers nearby who were able to help intervene?
Again, as part of our internal investigation, we are looking at where everyone was at the time this occurred, and we will find out if people were where they should have been during the course of what transpired. We don't have the answers to all those questions yet because our investigation into policy is not complete. And it won't be completed probably until again, they're concurrent. We have to interview people for the policy side, just like Homicide has to interview people on the criminal side. So there's a lot of overlapping interviews that have to go forward. So.
In a situation like this, would that inmate be moved to a different facility?
Yesterday, he was moved to the Detroit detention facility pending investigation. He was arrested by Detroit Police Department. He was taken to their detention facility for processing as one of their prisoners. Once they are through with his initial processing and whatever happens in court, he will be sent to a county jail, but it won't be Wayne County Jail. He will not be in our custody.
Was he injured at all? Was it an exchange of punches? Did he punched?
At this point in time, the person that we have turned over to Detroit has not indicated that they had injury. He hasn't said anything, to be quite honest. He didn't complain of an injury, let me just say that. I actually don't know the answer to that question. I didn't see him. There's probably somebody here who saw him. But right now, I really don't want to get into that. But I know he did not complain of any injuries.
Sure.
Yes.
Is there a fund set up or some way that people, when they see this and they want to help to contribute some money to the family or to do something to get involved in some way to support you guys? Is there anything like that?
This all unfolded so quickly, and thank you for posing that question because we have been asked that many times already. As soon as something is set up, we will make sure that we get that information out to you through a press announcement.
Sheriff, one of the questions your internal investigation is going to try to answer is if this particular inmate's door was checked, then he was able to open up and get out.
All of that will be part of our internal policy and procedure investigation.
What do you want to say to members of the Sheriff's Department? You lost some to COVID, now this. What do you want to say to them?
The leadership of this agency is always concerned about the quality of life issues as it relates to the people in this agency. We strive every day to do the best we can to make their work environment a place, even under the most difficult circumstances, that they want to come to work. I have been very fortunate as the sheriff of this agency to have a county executive like Warren Evans, who has been extremely supportive of this agency. And he continues, he's here. He doesn't have to be here. I'm an independent elected official. He was at the hospital last night. Didn't have to be there. But that shows you the level of commitment that he still has to this agency. And so I say to the folks that we're doing all that we could possibly do to try to make this an agency that they're proud of and one that they want to work at. Yes.
DPD a few years ago, they made it so if someone dies in the line of duty, the city covers the funeral. Is the county going to cover this funeral?
I have to put
That would, I have no control over money.
That's a policy question that we have to take up somewhere else. I mean, it has not historically been the case, you know, but it could be the case. It's a first impression question.
And that's interesting that you pose that question, because the last line of duty death that we had of this type was the Sergeant Dickerson. So it's a question that, quite honestly, he's never, the county executive's never had to approach me, to be quite frank. So we'll see what happens out of this.
Thank you.
First Responders Children's Foundation for the COVID crisis.
We do get help from the First Responders Children's Fund. And there are a lot of other, just as they said, people are reaching out right now, asking us what it is they can do to help. I am certain that the business community in Detroit and Wayne County will be reaching out to me, because they always do. Most of them like to remain anonymous in what they do, but I assure you that we will receive significant support from the folks throughout this county. Is that it? Thank you all so much. We'll get back with you on that information if we find, once a fund is set up, that you could potentially have people contribute to. Thank you so much.
All right, you've been listening to the news conference regarding the death of Wayne County Sheriff Corporal Bryant Searcy. Sheriff Benny Napoleon saying Corporal Searcy was locking down inmates at the old jail downtown, and during the course of that lockdown, he was attacked by an inmate on the 4th floor. There was a struggle. He lost consciousness. He was taken to Detroit Medical Center, where he passed away. Searcy, an 18-year veteran, he'd been with Wayne County Sheriff since 2002. He's also a father who has a college-age daughter who turned 21 just last week. Sheriff Napoleon calling Corporal Searcy a consummate professional, adding that there are now 2 investigations going on. The Detroit police conducting the criminal investigation, and there is a separate internal investigation being done by the undersheriff. We'll, of course, have much more on this breaking news story next at noon and on later editions of 7 Action Noon, as well as online at WXYZ.com.
This has been a breaking news alert from 7 Action News.
The view from home is looking a little different these days, but this is still the one place in daytime
Good morning, Senator. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
where the biggest